People don't realize that you can qualify for a loan, but you may not necessarily qualify for the best rate.
Oh, yeah.
Or you're good, but something needs to get paid off. So, oh, by the way, we checked your credit and there's something on there that's not supposed to be there. You may be hesitant to have them pull your credit. Let them pull your credit. The only way that they're gonna know the situation fully that you're in is for them to pull the credit. I walked through an entire house that was all Harley-Davidson cars.
Wait, really?
Yes. If you neglected to tell them something important that any reasonable buyer would need to know, if it affects the material value of the property, and it does because you chose not to disclose it, they can file a lawsuit against you.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the start of a very important series on real estate. The ins and outs, the buyer and the seller side, coming from me, Drew Lang, as well as my dad, David Lang. You know, over the years I've grown up hearing my dad talk about the real estate business in various aspects from both the buyer and the seller side. And now it's kind of a full circle moment now that I work with him, especially because he is one of the most well-respected agents in our brokerage right now. He's led for 17 years in honesty and fairness, and is almost all the time is done right by the buyer or the seller. So we decided to start a series to distill the 17 years of experience that he's had and really give it out to people that need it. You know, one of our goals with our team is to help people understand the buying and the selling process, to give back to the community, and just be a resource when people need it. And I really believe that he is that. So in this video today, we're going over things about the buying process and the selling process that you wouldn't expect, things to consider before you buy or sell. And I think all these tips are very helpful. So thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoy.
All right, here we go. We were talking about this before we were going to start filming. I just want to say I'm really excited for this, partially because, I mean, you're my dad, you know, and I love working with you. I think you're an amazing realtor, and I've always looked up to you. But especially with this set of videos and this film project of really just trying to help the consumer maybe get through some of the mist and the mysticism of buying and selling, and maybe talk about some common problems and really just help people, which is kind of what we really do and what you're known for around the office.
And even if you've bought or sold in the past, it may have been 5, 7, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So even the experienced buyer or seller, to a certain extent, you know, they're kind of relearning it each time that they do it. So
yeah, and a lot's changed, especially in Florida in the last couple of years.
A lot has,
you know. So I figured let's just maybe start the first video with simple things of what not to do for buyers and what not to do for sellers, and figured let's just start with buyers. So we got a list here, things about talking about what not to do, and the first one that I saw was don't skip getting pre-approved. Now, walk me through the process. What do you mean by that?
Well, don't skip it, but also don't wait to the last minute, because what a lot of buyers will do, unless that they're instructed otherwise, is they'll start looking online for property. They're not quite, you know, they're a few months out. They're not quite close yet. And when I start finding the property that I like, then I'll, you know, I'm good for it. I know I have a good credit score. So well, I'll just go and talk to a lender at that time. But the problem with that is a couple of fold. Number one, if you go out and you find the perfect home today and want to submit an offer, if it's contingent on financing, your offer is going to need to be accompanied by a pre-approval letter or a pre-qualification letter. That's showing the potential seller, the seller of the home that you like, that you've already talked to a lender and you're good to go. Sometimes it's very difficult to even get them to acknowledge the offer or start negotiating unless you have that, because they don't know if, you know, you think you're good, they have no idea if you can get a loan or not. Why start the negotiating process? Why take the property off the market if ultimately you can't? So you will need to submit a loan pre-qual or pre-approval when you submit the offer to begin with. Now, another reason to not wait and maybe start this should be probably the first thing that you do is start talking to a lender. people don't realize that you can qualify for a loan, but you may not necessarily qualify for the best rate.
Oh yeah.
Or you're good, but something needs to get paid off. So, oh, by the way, we checked your credit and there's something on there that's not supposed to be there. And all this can really throw a monkey wrench into things if you do that at the last minute when you're trying to submit an offer. So even if it's 6 months, I'm not going to buy a house for 6 months down the road. Talk to a lender today. There's been many, many times where a good lender who looks at your situation and gives you advice on how to put yourself in the best position to get the best terms and the best rate possible. That advertised interest rate out there, whatever it happens to be, interest rates have too many factors to really, for you to really know what your interest rate's going to be. So anything you advertise, you can pretty much throw out the window. It's not real.
Oh, okay.
It's not real.
So usually before I got into the real estate game, I initially thought that you find a house, then you find your financing. But it sounds like that we should do the opposite. You should talk to a lender first, at least to know your options.
Many, many times where the lender might say, hey, look, if you do X, Y, or Z, you'll put yourself in a better position to get a better rate with better terms. But that formula that they have you do might take 30, 60, 90 days to do it. You can't do
Oh, really?
You can't do it at the last minute. You still might be able to get a loan, but you may have to pay a premium and interest rate. No one wants to do that.
Yeah, no one wants to pay
No one
extra.
wants to do that. Talk to a lender first.
Yeah.
And it'll put yourself in the best position possible when you find your perfect home.
Okay. Are there any specific things that you should avoid when it comes to talking to a lender? I don't want to like say specific lenders, but are there like specific loans that you should just probably avoid in general, or is that more on the lender's discretion?
Well, when you said specific things, I will say that you may be hesitant to have them pull your credit.
Yeah, a lot of people are.
Let them pull your credit. The only way that they're going to know the situation fully that you're in is for them to pull the credit. It's, you say, okay, well, I don't want my interest rate to get a little dip when you pull. It's temporary. It goes back up, but there's no way for them to know. Or let's say that you have a debt on your credit report that's not supposed to be there that's paid off. You won't know until you go through that process.
Okay.
And have a real credit score, real debts to plug into the debt-to-income ratio, so you can get a true, accurate estimate of how you're qualified.
Okay, so just to understand, make sure I'm hearing you right, check with a lender first before you even start the process of looking for a house, right?
Yes.
Okay. See, things I'm learning
And
still.
if you don't know who to talk to, ask your realtor. They'll usually have a few good options for you. People that they've worked with in the past that have good processing departments, that have good programs. There's a lot of great programs for first-time home buyers also out there. So ask your realtor and they'll give you options for who to talk to for a lender.
That's an excellent point. I mean, you usually if you want to find a good handyman, you would ask usually a construction worker or a plumber because they're in the field, so they talk
Someone
to a
who
lot.
works with that person.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. The second one that you have is don't overlook the neighborhood. I feel like this is something that oftentimes people only talk about, like, man, the importance of the neighborhood. It might be a great house, but a bad neighborhood. Yeah, it's still something mentioned here for buyers. So why is it so important?
And this will be a quick and easy one. You have to, when you're looking for the perfect home, sometimes it comes down to how many bedrooms, does it have a pool or not, how many bathrooms does it have, but does it have to be close to your work? Does it have to be close to activities that you like to do? How about friends, family, the school that your kids are going to go to?
Yeah.
So, we're not, the neighborhood itself, whether it's gated or not gated or whatever, doesn't really matter. It's how it fits into your lifestyle. And a lot of people think of that, but not everyone does. So I thought we'd mention it here.
That's a great point. I know that HOA fees, especially in our area, are a big deal. What are some of the things that are positives and negatives for HOAs? Because one of the conversations I often hear is, oh, it's an HOA, don't pay for it. But there are some positives for the right person. So would that be a part of overlooking the neighborhood of seeing what the HOA is and what it means?
Absolutely, it's lifestyle. It's what, and you talk to 10 buyers, 5 of them may have an opinion about HOAs, and then the other 5 have a different opinion.
Yeah.
HOAs have fees, but with fees, there's usually amenities that you get. You might have lawn care and landscaping. There might be a community pool that you can use. Might be a community clubhouse or exercise room. Might have a gate, might not have a gate. Some people love that kind of living, and that's awesome. And some people like to be on their own lot where they can do
Whatever they want to do.
whatever, legally,
Yeah.
where they can do. And have a little bit more flexibility and not have fees. Now, you're going to pay for your own lawn. You're going to pay for whatever that you want to do for fun. There's not a right or wrong reason with that. It's what is that buyer potentially looking for.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
So the third one is don't waive important inspections. And as I'm reading that, I think the first thing that stands out to me is important. I didn't think that there were unimportant inspections, but are there?
That's a good point. Yeah, there really may not be. It's comfort level, but also back when, in early COVID, Southwest Florida had an influx of people. Mm-hmm. It was a full-on seller's market, and there were people that were offering over asking price, and some were waiving inspections just as a way to get the seller's attention, for a seller to pick my offer over someone else's, and we never encouraged that. Actually, if someone says that they're wanting to do that,
that's usually a
they
red
have
flag.
to send me something saying that they're requesting it, because we do not think that anyone should waive inspections. Now, inspections in Florida, the main inspections, there's a general home inspection that looks at the general functionality of the house. There's a 4-point inspection, which looks at the 4 pillars of the home: roof, electrical, AC, and plumbing.
Okay.
On an older house, the insurance company is going to make you have a 4-point to see if the property is even insurable. Then thirdly, there's a wind mitigation inspection.
Oh, really?
Which, unless the house is brand new, the wind mitigation inspection looks for building techniques that would minimize damage if we had a storm. And so that gives you discounts on your insurance. So that one's important. But in addition to that, so let's say you walk through the house and you love the house, it has a little musty smell to it. Well, maybe you want an air quality test. And an air quality test is looking for potential mold. Maybe you do that, maybe you don't, but it's a comfort level thing. Termite inspection.
Yeah.
Another thing, a general home inspection will typically look for, within the general inspection, if they notice pests, they'll write it in their inspection, but a termite inspection is specifically looking for, are there any evidence or signs of termites as a whole?
So I like analogies. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think a good analogy would be buying a new car versus buying a used car. Where buying a new car, you're paying more, but you're getting the guarantee that there's not as many miles on it. And I assume the same is with housing in general?
Yes, but not 100%.
Oh, really?
And let
Okay.
me explain. If you're buying a brand new house, we recommend you have a home inspection done.
Oh, really?
Well, you think about it. The general contractor, the big builder, could be a great big builder, but all the work's performed by subcontractors, going from job site to job site. And there's many times where we do a general home inspection. Okay, it costs you a few bucks. They find stuff. They find stuff that you wouldn't have known was there before you actually closed. So even on a brand new home, now hopefully they don't find anything, everything's great and you're happy. That's what we want for all our home inspections.
Yeah.
But the home inspection isn't to necessarily find something. It's to make sure that you know what you're getting when you purchase.
Okay.
There's one more inspection that I didn't mention also. If you have in Southwest Florida, a lot of our homes aren't on city sewer, they're on well and septic.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that.
And so a septic inspection is also, it's another inspection, it's another cost, but a very, very good inspection to do to make sure that you're getting into a property that aren't going to have future issues in the near future.
So we mentioned 5 inspections: a general, a 4-point, a wind mitigation, air quality, and a septic. Are there any that you would say, maybe all of them is probably the answer, but are there any that you would say you you should never buy a house unless you have this inspection?
At the very, very least, the general home inspection you should always do.
Okay.
They're going to look at all the main things in the house. They're going to look at the electrical panel. They're going to test all the appliances. They're going to test all the plumbing fixtures.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to crawl around the attic, looking for leaks, looking for wet spots. They use moisture meters, heat, thermal, and they're going to crawl the roof, or they're climb on the roof.
They'll crawl through the roof.
and they're going to check the electrical outlets. It may not be perfect because anything can break at any particular time. If you have a home inspection done and you close 3 weeks later, something can break, but we want to capture as much as we possibly can. And again, it's the idea of if I'm going to purchase this home, I want to know everything that I can about the quality and condition of this property. Some of the things that are safety related or broken, which are represented to be working, now those are topics that you can have negotiated and possibly get a seller to either repair or credit.
So the fourth one, don't make big purchases before closing. Now, I have a funny story about this because I was doing an open house for a house that initially there was a buyer and it was, he loved the house, and then he made some dumb purchase because he thought he was going to have the house and bought a bunch of furniture, and then he got unqualified to buy his own house with the furniture that he just bought. So
exactly, and this is more of a lender problem that could occur, and your lender, hopefully a good lender, is telling you these things. What people don't realize is you're qualified, you've got the credit score, you've got the debt-to-income ratio, you've got the assets. A week before closing, the lender many times will recheck your credit.
Really? Okay.
So if you go out to furniture, rooms to go or whatever, and buy a house full of furniture and add all that extra debt, now those have to be included into your debt-to-income ratios, and they may cause a problem.
So if you're going to buy anything for your new house, wait until it's actually your house.
Wait until you're closed. Then do what the heck you want.
Is that a common problem? Do a lot of people do that?
I don't know that a lot of people do, but enough where we have to actually mention this.
Oh, jeez. Okay, next one. Now, this one I definitely want to hear your opinion on. The next one's don't lowball too drastically. Part of my brain thinks of everything as a negotiation, so I think like, well, maybe I want to lowball to get a better price and then get them to go down in price. But you're kind of saying the opposite. Is it all a psyop so that we get more commission? Or
it depends. And here's a good reason why you want to hire a good realtor, because you find the house that you love, it's listed at whatever. Do I really know as a buyer, is it priced properly? Here's the thing. A seller can price something too high, appropriately, or even a little low.
Oh, really?
And, some people will do that to try to garner more attention, maybe multiple offers. So when you're looking at a property price, and you just decide, whatever I find, I'm just going to offer them 90% of what they're asking, you're really missing the boat. You're really missing the boat. So a good realtor, number one, will look for comparable sales that have recently sold to give you a good idea. This house is overpriced, and we need to come down, because why would we want to? Obviously, as a buyer, you don't want to overpay for something, but guess what? It's gonna have to appraise, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna go through this whole process and it not appraise, and then we're in square one. So we want a realistic offer. Now, why do you not want to lowball too drastically? There's a couple of reasons, but when a seller receives an offer that's either it could be unreasonable. They could be priced pretty well, and the offer just be unreasonable. And now the seller shuts down. They don't want to negotiate. So instead of a negotiation to a price that maybe you were hoping for, you get a no, I reject your offer. Because remember, a seller they have three options when they receive an offer. They can accept it, they can make a counter offer, or they can reject it. And if your offer is too low and it could be an emotional sale for the seller, and they get a little ticked off because you're not being reasonable or you're trying to get something for nothing.
Yeah.
It's counterproductive. Or I've seen they'll counter back like $100 lower or something. It's just, or $500. So it's a little slap
like a
in the
power
face.
move.
and so what do you do as a buyer at that point?
Yeah.
So if the property's overpriced, your offer's going to be less. If the property is priced right, you can still offer less and see where it goes. But realize that the closer you are to the seller's expectations, the seller may, at that point, not even make a counteroffer. They may just simply accept your offer. Your reasonable offer could get you a lower price on the property than an unreasonable offer.
That makes sense.
Because the seller is willing to play games. He gave me it's a couple $1,000 lower than what I was hoping, but it's a good offer. Everything else is good. I'm just going to accept it and be done with it.
Is there a hard and fast rule when it comes to price negotiation? Like, don't go under this or over that?
There isn't, because, again, that seller could be priced to the T where the property's probably going to sell at, or they could be 20% over. And again, if they're 20% over market value and you offer them 90% of that, are you doing yourself No,
I haven't even thought about it that way.
It's property specific. However, I can tell you that the on average sale price to list price ratio, and this is not the original list price necessarily, but the list price that it was at when you put an offer in.
Yeah.
And it bounces around between 94 and 96% all the time.
Oh, okay.
So, that tells you something. If you're offering 3, 4, 5% less, you have a very, very good chance for the seller to just simply accept it. If you're offering 7, 8, 9, 10% less, the seller's going to probably make a counter offer, and that counter offer may be acceptable to you and it may not be.
So realistically, going beyond 5% or 7% might be almost hurting you more.
And if a seller's overpriced, that property really needs to come down more than that.
Okay. And I mean, I'm just going to probably ask this question almost every single time. How often does that happen? How often do people undercharge or underprice?
Well, it's really difficult. You have to understand, it's difficult if a seller, let's say the seller believes, with the information the realtor's given them, the comparable sales that they have in their particular neighborhood, that the market value for a property is, let's say, $400,000. And they put it in the market for $390 or $385. There's a very, very good chance that they get more than one offer.
That makes sense.
And it ends up selling for $400,000.
So if they get two offers, one is $385, one's $390, why would they take the $385?
This market is right now a buyer's market. And this year I've already had 2 listings that had multiple offers. And in those particular cases, I wasn't undervalued. They were unique properties that people fell in love with. And if there's more buyers for a particular property that are willing to put offers in, that can bump the price up. So, yeah, do sellers willingly underprice their property? Not very often.
Yeah, they probably want the most amount of money out of their own property.
Yeah, everyone does, absolutely.
Okay, so the next one is don't be afraid to ask questions. So this is interesting to me. My initial gut reaction is I feel like people would ask maybe too many questions.
It's really hard to ask too many questions because, let's say you're a first-time home buyer.
Okay.
You have probably a question about every step in the process.
Yeah.
Your realtor.
You.
I just tapped the microphone, so it made a bunch of noise. Sorry. Your realtor, that's his job. That's what he's getting paid for, is to get you from start to a happy finish with as little stress and hoops and jumps and red tape as possible. If you don't understand something on the contract, ask a question. Let me flip it over. What if in your lifetime you've bought and sold 7 or 8 properties? Well, the last one that you bought and sold may have been 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago. So guess what? Our contracts, if it was in Southwest Florida, our contract was different.
Yeah.
If you sold in Ohio and now you're in Florida, guess what? What's customary in different states, even in different areas within the states, is different. Ask questions. So what I dislike the most is giving information or here's the next step, and then on the other side goes silent a little bit. And some of it is, well, they don't understand something. Just ask me.
Yeah.
Just ask me. I don't want you to go to the next step in the process and not fully understand where you're at and where you're going.
Yeah.
So ask questions.
So is it common that people feel like they're kind of treading deep water in over their heads when they're first buying a house? Is that a common feeling overall?
Maybe, yeah. And there are certain questions like when we're showing property and someone asks me an inspection, a structural engineering question about the property, I'm not qualified for that.
Yeah.
And many times when I see a stain on the ceiling, something out of place, I'll point it out so there's no surprises. I'll typically point it out to buyers. Hey, don't look at this. I don't know what this is over here. And that stain on the ceiling, guess what? Inspector's going to look at it. And it's either going to be wet and an active problem, or it's going to be dry and...
So let's park there in a second, because I think maybe some of the initial perception of realtors is that, I joked about it earlier, like, we're in it for the commission. And what you just said could have been something that, if you mentioned to a customer, would ruin a sale possibly, because they might not be right. So where's the line for a realtor pointing out information that would help the client but maybe hurt the sale?
If you've hired me to help, and I'm your buyer's agent and I'm helping you, the buyer, through the process, my loyalty is to the buyer, not to the property, not to the sale. And here's the thing, if you do right to the buyer, if this property doesn't work out, we'll find the right property. If the seller has hired me to list and sell their property, my loyalty is to the seller. Now, keep in mind, if I'm a buyer and I'm looking at signs down the street, or I'm on Zillow, and I decide to just call the seller or the listing agent to get my questions answered, thinking that might give me some leg up, it doesn't. Because contractually, within their listing agreement, that agent's loyalty is to the seller alone.
Yeah.
And they can't represent both of you. They have to either represent the seller and you be unrepresented, or they have to represent the transaction itself. They can't represent you. So hire a buyer's agent to look out for your best interest.
That's a great answer. Okay, the next one we got is don't change jobs before closing.
This goes with the credit.
Yeah, so I want to approach this two ways. First question is why? And the second question is for those of us that have been caught in a situation where we had to change jobs. What do you do?
If you have to, then talk to the lender. And here's the thing. If you're going from a salary position to a salary position, there may not be any issue.
Oh, really?
If you're going from, you're doing this and you're doing something completely different, and this completely different something is commission-based where it was salary before, now you've got a problem. With commission jobs, you need 2 years, generally 2 years of history, because they can't just base it off of a month. They don't have any idea what's going to be.
It's very inconsistent.
Typical. It is.
Yeah.
It can be. So just because you change jobs doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to kick it out, but it can cause problems or delays. Number two, if you're thinking about doing something, let's say I'm purchasing a home and my income is what I'm using to qualify, but I'm planning on retiring in 6 months.
I can see how that could be an issue.
And you have that discussion with your employer. Well, when the lender calls to verify employment, they're verifying what you're currently making, and if it was commission or bonus based or overtime based, the last 2 years, but also is it perceivable that that employment would carry on for the next 2 or 3 years? For them to use that income, it has to be perceivable that that income will continue.
So they ask that to.
So the employer, well, no, he's quitting in 2 months. Well, guess what? Now we can't use that income. So people's lives change all the time, but maybe we can. And if you have a question, talk to your lender ahead of time.
It seems like lots going back to just talk to your lender.
It's professionals. You know, realtors are professionals, lenders are professionals. We're there to help you navigate through the transaction.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it too, if we're doing a good job, then we should be putting you in the best position to maintain your house. Like it would be bad of us if we tried to get you into a house that you can't afford, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So last one, again, I feel like this next one and last one is a self-explainer, but I need in the description. So it says, don't ignore red flags.
Yeah, and that's pretty general. That can be a bunch of different things. But since we just got off of your comment that you don't want to maybe get into something that could potentially be a problem, when you're walking through a home or the inspection comes back, little things. Trust me, if you're buying a 30-year-old home, a 20-year-old home, there's going to be little stuff. So, is there big stuff? Is there big stuff that's going to cost money? If you're a first-time home buyer, now in Southwest Florida, your architectural shingle roof, insurance companies start not liking them around 15 years, 20 years. It's really, really hard to find insurance. So if you're a first-time home buyer, would it be prudent to purchase a house with just a couple of years worth of roof life left, knowing that you're going to have that pretty significant expense in the near future? It's not. So, you know, buying a fixer-upper, which I bought several.
Yeah.
You have to be in the right place to do that. If you're buying your first home, and I think that is awesome. You are locking in those living expenses for as long as you're there, 10, 20, 30 years if need be. Guess what? Rent's going to go up.
Yeah.
You know,
it always goes up.
You're going to lock it in, but you don't want to get into something where you know you're going to have to spend significant money in the near future.
Okay.
Things break, you save for that, but I don't want to get into a situation where I know I'm going to have to spend significant money.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Is there any other final advice that you would give to just buyers at all?
Even if you're considering buying something, it feels like 6 months is a long time.
Eternity.
It's not. It's not. If you consider, if I get serious at looking for a home and it takes me 30 days, 45 days, 60 days to find a property, and I go under contract, and then it takes me a month, month and a half for the financing to go through and to be able to actually close, what are we at? 3-4 months already?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're so what I would say is get in touch with a lender, get in touch with a realtor before you think you need them. Because they can start putting you in a position to win, and it goes fast. And if you start doing all those things when you think you're getting close to needing them, it could be too late.
This is where
not too late, but you start mucking up the process.
That makes sense. So now we get on to sellers. Now, first-time home buyers, brand new to the market, they've never bought anything before, but you know, a seller's been in a house for minimum a year or two, maximum 20, 30 years. So obviously, the questions are different. So the first thing that is mentioned on here is don't overprice your house. Now, my brain goes immediately to a negotiation tactic. Why not overprice your house? Because then if they lowball you, you're back where you started. So why not overprice it?
And that's what a lot of people think.
Yeah.
Number one, the real estate market's the real estate market. The realtor, you the seller, your neighbor down the street, we can't change that. We can't make someone overpay for a home. And remember, again, especially if it's financed, you're gonna have an appraisal. You know,
so they'll find out.
If you found someone to overpay for your home, it may not stick anyway.
Okay,
and most people are pretty smart. You when you bought the home, you didn't want to overpay for it. I think most people would say that they don't want to overpay for it. So don't overprice your home. Here's, when people are searching for property and you overprice your home, you run a couple of different risks. You run the risk that, the average person looks at 8 to 12 different properties before they pull the trigger on one. So they've looked at your competition at that same price point, same amenities, same number of bedrooms and bathrooms, and they, I have 5 homes here that are all very similar to yours, and they're $20,000 less than yours. Why would I? So, okay, would I put an offer on yours hoping you get real and negotiate, or do I just buy the one that's fairly priced to begin with?
And you just buy the one that's easier.
Unless you got something very, very unique, or you're in a market that there aren't a lot of competition. Right now, Southwest Florida, it's a buyer's market.
A lot of competition.
Yeah, a lot of competition. Your competition is other sellers on the market. So number one, that offer that you say, I'll negotiate when it comes in, unfortunately never comes in. Or let's say it comes in, let's use some numbers. Let's say market value is $400,000. You're priced at $4.25. You're just hoping someone gives you an offer so you can, and I'll negotiate down to closer to market value. I just want to get every penny I can get out of it. Well, the buyer that wants your home knows, because again, we've got the internet, they've looked at a dozen properties similar to yours. They have a pretty good idea what yours, value-wise, what it should bring.
Yeah.
But they really want yours. But I know I don't want to overpay for it. So what's my offer? Oh, my offer might be $375.
Oh, I see. So they're going to go super low.
The buyer's hoping, well, we can all just meet in the middle. But trust me, when that seller gets that offer that's $50,000 less,
they get insulted, I assume.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's exactly what happens. So what do? I reject your offer. Or now I'm going to make a counter offer that's just $1,000 less, and we just never go anywhere.
So in a weird way, in the same way like lowballing, when you overprice your house, you actually remove the possibility of even selling the house off the table.
Yes.
Is it okay to quote unquote overprice your house by a couple percent, like 2%, 3%?
Not typically, and again, it's market specific. If we're in a balanced market, you're probably okay. If we're in a seller's market, you're okay, because all you really have to do is wait a couple of months down the road and the market comes up to you. If you're in a buyer's market, what could happen if that market is sliding down and I'm a little bit over market value each time, but I'm gonna let it, we're gonna try it out for 60 days and we're gonna come down. Well, now that market value is less than it was 60 days ago. So now that's called chasing the market. And we've seen sellers, go all the way down and ultimately sell for a lot less than they should have. So
yeah.
Market specific.
And I also think when I see a house on the MLS, it's been on the MLS for 150 days, I'm like, what's wrong with the house?
Again, let's try it out for a while. We can always reduce the price. Okay, 100%. You get that listing that property that's been on the market for a long time. And now even if you've made the price adjustments and now it's priced properly, what are buyers thinking? What's wrong with the property? It's been on the market for 5 months. What do I not see that there's a problem? And a lot of times they'll just not even try and exclude your property because they're a little uncertain about it. So it doesn't help you as a seller to overprice.
So final question on the overpricing. Have you ever been in a situation where you had a buyer, they wanted to pay for an overpriced house and the inspection happens and you're like, crap, I'm overpaying? Has that ever happened to you specifically?
Well, there are times where you submit an offer, they love the house. I mean, it's not necessarily that you know that it's overpriced, but the appraisal comes in. The appraisal's looking at other similar homes. It's determining market value by what's happened in the past, and they look for 3, 4, 5 other similar recent sales in your neighborhood to determine what the market value is yours. It's a little science and a little art. If you ask 3 different appraisers to give you an appraisal on a particular property, the numbers are probably going to be a little different because everyone looks at things a little differently. So there's a little art involved. But yes, I've had properties where They didn't appraise, and then you have to do something. You have to either renegotiate with the seller, which sometimes they're willing to do. And usually it's not huge amounts, because we never got to that part to be $50,000 overpriced. We never got that far. You know, it doesn't.
Which jokingly also says your quality, because you wouldn't put your customer in a position where they're overpaying $50,000.
Well, I don't want them to also, but now the customer who really wanted to be in a house in 30 days, you know, 3 weeks into it, it falls apart because of an appraisal, and now they have to start looking again. And now, you know, I don't really care what I think. They're not. Their goal is to get into a property in X amount of time, and now they're not unable to do it. So I'm doing them a disservice by letting them.
Which makes sense too. And also, now that I'm also thinking about it too, if someone is selling a house and they have a realtor, the realtor is going to be telling them, well, you need to price it correctly. So you're putting yourself in a position badly.
Yeah, most of the time, yes. But unfortunately, and I'm sure every area is similar to ours, we have a lot of agents that are licensed. They don't have a lot of experience. And, you know, maybe they need a sale. They need a listing. And if the seller is saying, hey, I'll list it for X amount, even if they know that it's overpriced, maybe they take the listing anyway because they want that listing. And they can put a sign in the yard. Maybe they get someone to call on it, and it doesn't work out for them, but they can make a relationship with that buyer and help them find something else.
I see.
Unfortunately, you're not doing the seller the service that you're hired to do.
Yeah. That's unfortunate that happens.
Yes.
Unfortunate. We hope it's not often, but
we hope people are giving, and again, you can give them good advice, them being a seller.
Yeah.
Here's the market. Here are what other very, very similar homes to yours have recently sold for. This gives us a good idea. I always tell people I'm a detective. I'm looking for evidence. I'm not making the market. I'm looking for evidence of what's already happened, what buyers and sellers have already come to an agreement with, so we have a good idea of what your home is likely to sell for. And they can hear all that information, and they can either accept what I tell them, or they can ignore what I tell them.
So I'm actually going to do something kind of crazy, because what you're talking about, as realtors, we are not emotionally invested in the property, but the seller is. You know, for a lot of people, you know, when they sell a house, that's the house that they grew up their kids in, or that they got married in. So the last piece of advice on here, which I guess we'll do next, is don't get emotionally attached to your offers. I want to kind of expand that into don't get emotionally attached to your house. Why is it such an issue to not take a realtor's advice because you're sucked into the house? You know, you're sucked into your idea.
Well, consider this. It is understandable that it can be emotional. I mean, I've sold properties for surviving spouses where they bought the property with a spouse and they passed. It's emotional. Or you mentioned the kids grew up in that house.
Yeah.
So I get it. It is an asset. And another reason to listen to the realtor, they're a third party. They're a third party that's going to negotiate on your behalf in your best interest without being emotionally attached to it. You can make some bad or poor decisions because you're emotionally attached to something. So that's why, realistically, that's why you hire a professional to be able to walk you through that. And sometimes it's not easy.
Yeah, and I know that sometimes what leads people to buy or sell is not great circumstances, you know. So I assume half of your job is really working with that. Yeah, life happens. All right, so the next one is don't forget how people search online for homes. Now, this one really stood out to me because I think it was on my first week of working here. You kind of told me this like gem of information about how people search. So how about you explain it, and then I'll kind of give my visceral reaction.
And if you think about it, this goes hand in hand with the don't overprice your home. How do people look for homes on Realtor.com, Zillow, Homes.com, the million different places that you can out there? It's a little different than you did maybe 30 years ago. You pull down your filters, and what typically happens as far as the price is concerned is you search in brackets. And they're typically about $25,000 brackets. And so a lot of people will search, or maybe 50, they'll search for something like, I'm looking for a home between 350 and 400, or 500 and 550. It doesn't matter. The problem is when you overprice your home, if someone's looking, the worst is right over $100,000 increment. I'm going to list mine at 505. Well, everyone that's looking for 500,000 or less, or 4 to 5 or whatever, doesn't see your home. It's invisible to them. The thing that, and some people get that, but the thing that goes hand in hand with overpricing, now where does your property show up at?
On the $600,000 ones.
Yes.
So
and that's the part that I don't think people understand. Someone's searching between 5 and 550 or 5 and 6 or whatever. Your house is showing up in that range, and you're being compared to other houses that if their true market value is $50, $75, $100,000 more than yours, unfortunately your house doesn't compare. And so you don't get showings, you don't get offers. But let's turn it around. Now I reduce the property, and now let's say I reduce it to 5. And now everyone looking between 450 and 5, or whatever the number is, now they see your property, which is a nice property. It's worth $500,000, and they're comparing it to all the rest of those.
I see. So it can actually work for your favor.
Now your house looks better than the competition. And now all of a sudden, there's been many times where we thought we were priced right, and after we're not getting the activity, so make a little reduction. Not really that much more activity, making a little reduction. And then somewhere in there, that little reduction all of a sudden turns into this flurry of activity. I have showings, I've got a lot of showings, I've got phone calls, questions, and now I'm getting offers. What the heck happened? And that's what happened, is somehow along the line, you got into that bracket to where your house shown. And again, the market is the market.
Yeah.
You can't fix that.
Yeah.
You can just put yours in the best showing shape as possible and price it properly.
So the next one is don't neglect necessary repairs. Now, where my mind goes is, what's really necessary?
Well, trust me, hey, that thing that needs to be fixed for the last year, and I'm kind of okay living with it not fixed, so I don't fix it. All those things that there's necessary, there may even be unnecessary repairs, but the reason why you want to clean all that stuff up is because when people are walking through the property and they see, oh, I got to fix that. I got to fix that. That doesn't look right. That's a DIY job that doesn't look right. Okay, well, that might have excluded them right there, but you know what people actually start doing in their mind? Well, if I saw that, if I saw those 5 things, what do I not see? What's all the stuff what do I not see? And now I'm getting a little scared about the condition of the property. So you may have lived with that switch that doesn't work or whatever, or that switch plate that's cracked. You clean all that stuff up. Now, psychologically wise, the buyer walks through and they go,
Looks pretty great.
yeah. And if they think on the surface that things look well maintained, then their brain goes, well, then everything that I can't see must be well maintained as well. So there's a lot of psychology within that. So yes.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
This next one I feel like is a personal attack on me. Don't clutter your house.
Been there.
Yeah. Now, and I know that there's 2 ways for this to happen. I think the first one is something that we kind of deal with less, which is the person that wants to show the house, but like they have trash on the floor.
There's extremes
Yeah.
to this. Well, I've shown hoarder houses.
Oh, really?
I've shown houses that aren't hoarder houses, but they're just messy. Maybe a renter lives there and they just don't care whether the house sells or not. They don't pick up. You have to understand, even if you're a relatively clean person, we ideally show and sell properties differently than we live in them. I want the tissue box easy to grab. I want the remote control. I want the coasters. I want the toothpaste. I don't necessarily have to put it in the drawer. It's
Yeah.
right there. It's handy. we live in our houses differently. You're not a messy person. You're not there's nothing wrong with a lot of people, but they have to understand that they live differently than we want our pictures to show up great. We want the experience when people are walking through the property to be great. So there's the little stuff that can be picked up and stowed away. But then also the furniture and some of the what we'd think, because sometimes you can get a lot of stuff over the years in a particular room. Well, I like that bookcase there. I like this. I like this. I like all that stuff. But after a while, it gets to be a lot.
Yeah.
When you declutter, and I tell people, look, you're going to pack anyway, right? So just the stuff that you're not using, start packing. And what happens is if the chair in the corner that I never use, that was grandma's, if I put that in the garage or put that in a storage unit, what ends up happening after you, what we call declutter, that room now looks bigger, right, Drew?
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that.
It looks more spacious, it flows better. So you can take the same floor plan, the same room, and it will look more appealing to a buyer because of the decluttering. So there's different levels. There's decluttering, and then there's the little fine stuff that we still want people to do, even if they're very, very clean people, to minimize.
So I have two questions on this. The first one is, for the idea of staging a house, do you guys hire, or do we hire professionals for that? Is it more on personal experience? How do you even stage a house correctly?
Well, the term staging is very generic.
Okay.
Everything we just talked about, decluttering, picking up, maybe even painting that wall that you painted Harley Davidson colors. I walked through an entire house that was all Harley Davidson colors.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
All that's staging. You know, the baseboards are all scuffed up, so painting them, all that stuff staging. You can also get to the extreme where if it's a vacant house, people rent furniture, rent stuff, make it look pretty. With our digital world, a lot of times with a vacant room, we can virtually stage stuff and it looks, you're giving people
An
the
idea. Yeah.
of what it could look like or how furniture could be placed. That's what you're doing.
My second question, I didn't know that you had to sell a hoarder's house. What is that process like? Because I feel like that's just a different level of customer service.
Yeah, no, I've sold, but I've helped buyers view some of those homes.
Oh, really?
You have to understand also, that buyer has to be the right buyer. And a lot of times it's an investor. Who wants to take the time? Number one, even if the seller is going to get rid of everything, can I even properly look at the condition of the home when there's boxes all the way up to?
Yeah.
So what ends up happening more times than not, Drew, is the buyer goes, this house is just not going to work for me. So it doesn't get sold. Or an investor who goes, I can hire a dumpster and then and I don't really care because I'm going to buy it.
I'm going to change it anyways.
I'm going to buy it for pennies on the dollar. I'm going to buy it for 70% of what I think the market value is. So if it needs a bunch of stuff, I already know that it's going to need some work. That's what you're going to get.
Okay. Man, that's definitely a different world
Completely
I haven't
different,
seen.
different animal. Yep.
So, as a seller, we talk about showings and open houses and having the house ready for someone to come in. We both have had experiences where the seller is, don't want to say hovering, but they're very interested in the perception that the buyer has on their house.
Yeah, and sometimes they try to be overly helpful.
Yes.
They want to show everything.
And it comes from a good place, I assume. Like they bought this house, they love this house, they want to show it off.
I've had, come on in, I'm going to sit on the couch and watch TV, you guys do your thing.
Oh, really?
I've had them tell me about the house and show me around. Here's the thing, if you want to sell your property, quickest amount of time, for the most amount, most sellers do, then that seller needs to vacate their house for the showings. What ends up happening, and I don't know if the sellers quite understand this, and it happens almost 100% of the time when I'm with buyers and we're walking through and the buyer goes, Yep. Oh, looks great. Yep. Okay, bye-bye. See you later. They didn't ask any questions. They did it very quick because it's kind of weird to have someone sitting there who's listening to your conversation. So guess what? They don't have a conversation.
That's interesting that the tell is that they don't actually ask questions.
Oh, and worse than that is they compliment how nice the house is. So the problem is the seller goes, oh, they really like the house. Are they planning on putting it out for? No, they don't. No. They're being polite. And polite doesn't sell your house.
Polite. Can I write that down and put it on a shirt?
If it's a elderly person, if there's a reason why they physically can't go somewhere, step out on the lanai so they're outside of earshot is the better. The best is to just try to vacate. Trust me when I say buyers will be there 2 to 3 times longer when no one's there, hovering. They'll ask questions. If they're really interested in the property, they're going to ask those questions to make sure that the property is going to work for them. If they feel like they can't do that, they move to the next property.
That's a great point.
Yep.
This next one, I laugh at. It's a bit down on the page. Don't lie on your disclosure forms, because part of my thought process is, well, they're going to find out anyways at the inspections. So why lose the negotiating power that you have with that?
Finding out on inspection is the good.
Oh, what do you mean?
The worst would be they don't find out for 6 months.
Yeah,
And
I didn't think about that.
And in Florida is what I can speak to, but I would imagine everywhere. As a seller, you have to disclose any material fact that you know. A material fact is a fact that could affect the value of the property. So if you know something's leaking, you know that there was a problem, you know that you had a structural whatever, you have to disclose. We have a nice form that's a seller's property disclosure, has a bunch of questions, but if there's something that you know about the property that's not asked in one of those questions, you still have to disclose it.
But David, what happens if they bought it anyways?
They'll sue you, or they can. I mean, here's the thing: if you neglected to tell them something important that any reasonable buyer would need to know, if it affects the material value of the property, and it does because you chose not to disclose it, so you know it does, they can file a lawsuit against you. Not fun. So never gone through it, but I know. You just disclose it, answer the questions. 9 times out of 10, they look at it and they go, okay, they understand. The buyer just has to understand what they're buying. If it shows up on inspection, that's easier because now we can renegotiate, we can fix, we can whatever. That is one thing. Not disclosing it all and it closes and then something's found out down the road. Big problem.
Not to be your biggest hype man, but it is kind of impressive that over 17 years of work, 600 homes sold, and you haven't had an issue like that. That says a lot.
Yeah, well, you try to. I can't make a seller disclose or tell me something that I don't know about. I didn't live in their house.
Yeah.
But I can give them the information, the reason why, and then hopefully they follow my advice, and something is important to that, they really need to.
Yeah, and speaking of advice, the next thing you have on there is don't ignore your realtor's advice.
Absolutely.
In every way? Or are there any like specific points where it's like, please just listen to me when I say this?
And I get sellers, I get buyers that occasionally don't. I can't make them listen to me. But you have to understand, especially if you know you're hiring someone that has experience. Yeah, I've done this for 17 years. I've sold over 600 properties, buyer seller. So don't ignore your realtor. Could be a pricing. I mean, it could be a bunch of different things. But if you know that you're hiring someone that has experience and they're telling you something, and if they're telling you something that makes you feel uncomfortable, they're probably telling you the truth. And if you feel uncomfortable that's probably when you should really listen and hear what they're saying. Because ultimately, you can't make plans to your next place unless you sell your property. Our fee structure is, you sell the house for more, we make more. It's a great thing. You sell the house for less, we make less. We don't want to underprice anything. We want you to get the most out of it. But if you're working with someone who has experience, and we can look at the market and we know there's 20 other properties out there that are very similar to yours that have sold in a particular range, there's no reason to expect that yours is going to sell much more than that.
Well, and realistically, I mean, you have a lot of repeat customers because people were not only happy with the work that you did, but felt like you were being honest with them. Why shoot yourself in the foot trying to make a quick buck when you may have to deal with them in a few years again? You know?
If you're going to be, well, what happens is they just won't call you.
Yeah, fair point.
If you want to be in this industry for a long time, you do the right thing in the beginning, and you will get past clients, referrals, and they don't necessarily have to be the next time they buy or sell. Their neighbor down the street could need something. Their sister needs something. Their best friend needs something, and I hope every time that a need like that comes up, hopefully they think of me.
Yeah. So final points for sellers. Anything that we missed at all, or I think we got?
That was a very, very good list. I'm sure there's more. And anyone who has a particular question that we didn't cover, or maybe needs further explanation,
definitely leave it in the comments. You know.
Yeah, leave it in the comments. We will be happy to give you any information that we have.
Yeah, contact us directly on the Lang team at kellerwilliams.com.
Everyone's situation is different, so this, as much as we talked, didn't cover everything.
Yeah, and we'll definitely make other videos in the future going through some of the other finer details. But thank you. I love talking to you about this stuff. And just you have a wealth of knowledge that a lot of people don't know about. So this is great. So
good. Just trying to help people.
Yeah.
Just trying to give information.
Awesome. Thanks.